I made a bet with my roommate, the campus prince. If I could make his withdrawn sister talk in just 3 sentences, he'd give me $1,000. With a smirk, I walked over to the girl's desk. I slowly cleared my throat. Aren't you going to explain it to everyone about how you licked my feet while I was asleep last night? The moment the words left my mouth, the entire classroom fell deathly silent. The gloomy girl, who was always hunched over in the corner, slowly widened her eyes. The icy mask on her face starting to crack. I didn't. The campus Prince Leo strode over, his eyes holding no disgust, only complete and utter admiration. I thought he was just kidding, but he transferred me the money without a second thought. As he sent the payment, the hands of the legendarily cool and handsome campus prince were shaking. He grabbed my arm like I was his last hope. "Dude, you're a genius. Please help my sister." He said his parents had taken Chloe to see countless psychologists both in the country and abroad, and the diagnosis was always the same. The best solution is for her to connect with someone her own age, someone who can help her experience the joys of being a teenager. But Chloe hated anyone who wasn't family getting close to her. At our age, everyone is obsessed with their reputation, so nobody was willing to take on the thankless job of dealing with someone as difficult as Chloe. Just keep pestering her. I'll give you another 1,000 for every sentence you get out of her. Leo gripped my hand like I was the man who'd save his life. I gripped his hand back like I was looking at a walking ATM. All I had to do was annoy someone. I was an expert at that. Ever since I was a kid, every teacher I've ever had saw me as a reincarnated fly. In elementary school, my teacher was so desperate for me to shut up that she made me sit next to the kid with a hearing impairment. So then I learned sign language, and we'd have secret conversations under the desk. Our hands moved so fast it looked like we were casting jutsu from NAR. When my desk mate got to an exciting part of a story, his fingers would practically cramp up. The teacher called my mom and told her I could probably strike up conversation with a stray dog, suggesting she should take me to see a doctor. This gig was practically made for me. I turned to look at Chloe. Chloe had only said those 2 words before lowering her head again, as if regretting that she'd spoken instinctively. Now, all we could see was the top of her dark hair. Being completely ignored, my childhood friend Nina came over, refusing to be left out. She saw Leo pay me and immediately tried to snatch my phone. "Ethan, we should be focusing on our studies right now. You need to stop hanging around with sketchy people." Leo, the guy she'd just been fawning over, turned around, his expression turning cold and distant again, back to his usual self. "Who are you calling sketchy?" Na froze, suddenly speechless. I yanked my arm away from her. I don't know how I never realized before that Nina was such a classic bully. Nina looked like she wanted to say more, but the bell rang, and I happily bounced back to my seat. That same day, Leo used the power of his family's cash to get me a seat next to Chloe. "Sir," he said to the teacher, "my sister is in a unique situation, and she's really here to try and make friends. Ethan seems like a great person for that. And, with this heat wave, I was thinking the school could really use some new air conditioning units." The teacher shut his mouth. When I moved to the desk next to Chloe, she was still asleep with her head down. Na twisted around to glare at me, a look that could have burned a hole through my skull. I spent the entire class staring at the back of Chloe's neck. She was obviously awake, just pretending to be asleep to avoid acknowledging me. Interesting. When the bell rang for the next break, I leaned in close to her ear and whispered, "Chloe, you know your neck is really pale. It kind of reminds me of a chicken wing. Makes me want to take a bite." I must have gotten too close because Chloe flinched and shot her head up, staring at me with wide, terrified eyes. I quickly raised my phone, snapped a picture of her face, and sent it to her brother. "How is this a withdrawn kid? She's actually pretty interesting. That little expression of hers is more animated than anything I could pull off." But over the next few periods, I found out just how tough Chloe was to crack. No matter what I said, she remained as still and silent as a statue. By the time the final bell rang, my throat was raw from talking, but I was more intrigued than ever because no one had ever listened to me talk that much without calling me an idiot. Even without the money, I felt like I'd found a kindred spirit. I watched Chloe's slender fingers slowly close her textbook and let out a little laugh. That was English class. What was the point of pretending? Chloe's fingers froze. She shot me a sideways glance before turning and walking out the door. I grabbed my backpack and hurried after her. Her brother had told me earlier that their driver would give me a ride home today. Someone yanked my backpack strap, nearly choking me. I whipped around to see Na standing behind me, her face dark. She obviously doesn't want to talk to you. Can't you take a hint? Ethan, have some dignity, will you? That was the second time. The second time today. Even though she was my first love. I couldn't stand her humiliating me over and over again. I forcefully shook her hand off my backpack. Na stared at me stunned as I stood there breathing heavily. What is your problem? When I was chasing you, you called me shameless. Now that I'm talking to someone else, you're still calling me shameless. And what did you say this morning? That I'm disgusting for always telling dirty jokes. I let out a bitter laugh. I wasn't even going to bring that up. She was the one who used to tell me dirty jokes every day on the way home from school, laughing so hard she could barely stand. I thought she actually liked them. I stayed up all night, cramming them just to get her to talk to me a little more. And what did I get for it? A reputation as the school's biggest pervert. She's impossible to please. I should have just given up on her sooner. I pushed Na's arm away and, seeing Chloe about to disappear around the corner, ran to catch up. Chloe, why didn't you wait for me? I asked, tilting my head. Of course. Chloe didn't answer. I turned and looked at the convenience store nearby. Stay right there. Don't move. To my surprise, she actually stopped and stood perfectly still. I walked a complete circle around her. Wait for me. I'm just grabbing something. If you move, I'll tell your brother you've been secretly kissing me. Chloe looked up at me. This time she wasn't as shocked as she was this morning, but there was a strange fire flickering in her dark eyes. When I came out of the store with a popsicle, I immediately saw Chloe standing obediently next to a trash can. I squinted. I always thought my type was the sunny, cheerful kind of girl like Nina, but somehow this quiet, gloomy puppy type like Chloe was just as cute. I thought to myself as I licked my popsicle. I finally came to a conclusion. I don't have a type. I'm just a sucker for a pretty face. I tried to hand her the other popsicle, but she didn't take it and it fell to the ground with a splat. She just kept walking. I picked it up, ran to catch up, and tried to put it in her hand again. Fell on the ground again. I was getting annoyed. What a stubborn kid. I caught up to her in a few strides, held the popsicle, and laced my fingers through hers, forcing her to hold it. Chloe stared at me in shock and frantically tried to pull her hand away. I just grinned and offered her the popsicle again. She took it. We walked side by side, but Chloe just held the popsicle without eating it. So I leaned in close and whispered, "Don't be shy, Chloe. Your hand is so soft." Chloe immediately unwrapped the popsicle, stuck it in her mouth, and started walking faster. See, when people get awkward, they always pretend to be busy. If they have water, they drink it. If they have a popsicle, they eat it. I watched Chloe slowly licking her popsicle and grinned. Chloe, did you know popsicles are great for cooling things down? Like on a hot day, you can stick one up a bull's. Chloe stopped eating. She lowered the popsicle, her lips red from the cold, and just stared at me. It looked like she had finally run out of ways to deal with me. I felt a little awkward. Okay, maybe that topic was a bit gross. Just as I was about to change the subject, Chloe spoke her second sentence of the day. Pig. I froze for a second, then I was ecstatic. Oh, right, it was a pig's. But I got it wrong. Chloe, we have so much in common. You watch those weird internet videos, too. I never thought a quiet girl like Chloe would be online, let alone a connoisseur of internet memes. I was overjoyed. I had truly found my soulmate. After getting out of the luxury car, I waved an enthusiastic goodbye to Leo, then turned around and nearly had a heart attack. Na was standing at the bottom of my apartment stairs, her eyes like ice. Does your mom know you're hanging out with a psycho? I offered her the extra ice pop I bought. Her expression softened slightly, but she didn't stop her lecture. A person like Chloe obviously has some kind of mental illness. You think everyone is as patient as me? I put up with your constant noise since we were kids. And she let out a yelp and stumbled back 2 steps, triggering the motion sensor light in the stairwell. The sweet, sticky juice from the ice pop I had crushed on her forehead dripped down her face as she glared at me. Ethan, are you insane? I pulled out a napkin, wiped my fingers, and walked right past her. You're calling other people psycho. Look in the mirror. By the time Nina turned around, I was already 2 steps up the stairs. The next day, during break, I asked to add Chloe on iMessage. For once, she actually responded, no. I tried to take her picture, but she frowned and batted my phone away. I reached for the phone in her pocket, and Chloe jumped back in alarm. We ended up in a clumsy tussle. Na tapped on my desk. Ethan, I'll forgive you for last night. My mom's making sweet and sour ribs tonight. Let's walk home together after school. I stopped bothering Chloe and gave Nina a sideways glance. Is she nuts? Did she not understand what I said yesterday? I couldn't be bothered to answer her. I turned back around only to see that Chloe had already gotten up and walked out classroom. I took a deep breath and ran out after her. Chloe was standing right outside the classroom door, perfectly still, like a statue. I figured she wanted to get away from me, but didn't know where to go, so her brain just short-circuited. I found it kind of funny and reached out to poke her side. Hey, so you're really not going to add me? Chloe didn't say a word, just kept standing there rigidly until the bell rang for the next class. Hey, the teacher's coming. I tugged on her sleeve, but Chloe remained motionless. What are you two doing standing out here? The music teacher asked with a frown. I looked at the petrified Chloe, then back at the teacher. Sir, Chloe, she has a stomach ache. Chloe's eyes widened slightly. The teacher just waved a hand and told me to take her to the nurse's office. I'm completely tone deaf, so I was thrilled to get out of music class, all thanks to Chloe's good girl reputation. I practically had to drag her down the hall like a sack of potatoes. As we passed a classroom window, I saw Na inside, scowling. Chloe, have you ever skipped class before? I took her hand in mine. The girl's palm was warm, and I felt a strange flutter in my chest. I led her through an alley near the school to my favorite noodle shop. The owner greeted us with a smile and brought over a bowl of noodles. Bringing a friend today? Aren't you supposed to be in class? I just grinned. Yep, we're skipping. Chloe's breath hitched. She shot her hand up to cover my mouth, her eyes wide with panic, as if she could force the words back down my throat. I couldn't help but laugh. Whoever designed this adorable little human, named Chloe, was a genius. She was exactly my kind of cute. I got 2 smaller bowls and split the noodles between them. Half for you, half for me. That way, our friendship will never fade. Chloe frowned at her bowl, but didn't say anything. I thought she was grossed out, but instead, she picked up her phone and held it out to me. I understood what she meant. She was saying she had money and could just buy another bowl. The truth was I couldn't finish a whole bowl myself, since I just had breakfast. I took the opportunity to grab her phone and add my own contact on iMessage. Chloe's hand froze for a second, but she didn't stop me. Chloe ate quietly, managing to make even a simple bowl of noodles look elegant. As soon as we finished eating, I wiped my mouth, grabbed her hand, and we bolted. Chloe was completely stunned, stumbling behind me as I pulled her along. I didn't stop until we were out of the alley. The girl's eyes were shining. She'd clearly never done anything so rebellious before. Her heart was pounding so hard I could almost hear it even standing in front of her. She grabbed my arm and tried to pull me back toward the shop, her expression determined. I pulled my hand away. We already dined and dashed. Going back now would be so embarrassing. Chloe pressed her lips together, looking at me without a word. She didn't seem angry, just resigned with a look of helpless indulgence in her eyes. I grinned at her. Fine, we can go back, but you have to be the one to tell the owner. Sorry, we're here to pay the bill. If you say that, I'll go back with you. Chloe stood at the mouth of the alley, conflicted, for a full 5 minutes. Finally, with a sigh of resignation, she took my hand and led me back. The owner was wiping down a table and froze when she saw us standing there like a pair of statues. I gave Chloe a little nudge. Go on. Her palm was sweating, and she squeezed my hand so tight it started to turn red. The tips of her ears were bright crimson. I thought she was going to give up, but a moment later, I heard Chloe's distinct, cool voice stammering, "Excuse me, sir. We're here to pay." The owner stared at us. Confused, he picked up his rag, wiped his hands on his apron, and looked at me. "What?" I finally burst out laughing, bending over because I couldn't breathe. "I have the owner's number. I always pay him through a money transfer app." I had also texted our homeroom teacher to excuse Chloe from class, but she was so gullible, she believed everything I said. Chloe looked a little annoyed. Her lips twitched, and then she turned and started walking away without a word. I ran after her, babbling, "Hey, I'm sorry. I just wanted to hear you talk more. Chloe, you have a really nice voice. You should use it more often. Chloe, repeat after me. Ethan is so handsome." I like Ethan. The tips of Chloe's ears turned an even deeper shade of red. She stopped walking abruptly. I wasn't expecting it, and bumped right into her back. She turned her head, looked at me for 2 seconds, and then quietly said, "Shameless." I snorted with laughter. "Chloe, I love the way you talk." She was clearly trying to call me shameless, just like Nina would. But even after she said that, I just kept grinning. She had probably never met anyone so thick-skinned in her entire life. Chloe gave up and just ignored me, walking ahead in a huff. That evening, Leo transferred me $10,000. Chloe talked at home today. She asked me, "Why do Dad's shoes smell so bad?" "Man, you're a miracle worker. You're a blessing to our whole family." I fell back on my bed laughing. I pictured Chloe with her brow furrowed, and it was almost too cute to handle. I pulled out my phone to send Chloe a message, but just then my phone started ringing. I impatiently declined the call. It was Nina again. After I blocked the number and I messaged, she started using her mom's phone to call me. Nina and I live across the hall from each other. Her mom, Mrs. Davis, has always been nice to me and is good friends with my mom, no matter how much of a troublemaker I was. I couldn't bring myself to block an adult's number. I rubbed my head in annoyance and tossed my phone to the side. What the hell was Nina's problem? I'd been chasing after her since we were kids, and she had never called me once. It was always me bothering her. I scrolled through my message history with Nina. It was basically a monologue from me. She might reply with AK or O after 100 of my texts. Just as I switched back, I saw a new message from Chloe. I expected her to be as distant over text as she was in person, but ever since I added her on iMessage, she replied to every single one of my messages. Even though her replies were just a word or two, it felt more validating than anything else. Maybe the quiet kid, Chloe, just didn't like talking out loud. Online, she was practically a chatterbox. "Morning, Chloe," I said with a grin. The quiet girl didn't say anything, just glanced up at me. I found it a bit strange. Was she being even quieter than usual today? The next moment, I saw breakfast on my desk. "Did you bring this for me?" I asked, pleasantly surprised. Chloe nodded, then shook her head. My brother. She was still a girl of few words, but I got the message. "Well, thank your brother for me. The dumplings from this place are always sold out." I was eating messily, and Chloe, with a slight frown, handed me a napkin. Nina walked up to my desk, glaring at me irritably. "How long are you going to keep this up? You're not answering my calls or my texts. We live right across the hall, but you've been avoiding me like the plague." I packed up the rest of my breakfast. "If you know I'm avoiding you, then maybe you should stop showing up in front of me." Now was so angry her chest was heaving. "You don't actually think a rich princess like her would ever be interested in you, do you?" I stopped chewing my food. Chloe, who had been pulling out another napkin, also froze. She looked up, her gaze calmly falling on Nina. I slammed my hand on the desk and shot to my feet. "Nina, we're still in high school. Your mind is disgusting. All you think about is romance and drama. Is that how a student should act? As a classmate, you should be helping others, not trying to stir up trouble." Now open her mouth to speak, but I immediately cut her off. "Or maybe you're the one in a relationship, and that's why it's all you can think about." Now I was furious. "Ethan, I'm only saying this because I care about you as a friend. A girl from a family like Chloe's can have any guy she wants. Before she could finish her sentence, our homeroom teacher's cold voice cut in from behind her. Nina, to my office. Now I almost died laughing. But when I turned back, I found Chloe staring at me, her eyes dark and unreadable. Before I could say anything, she pressed her lips together and turned her head to the side. I rubbed my forehead. Great. The little princess was mad again. You're right. You don't need help. I misspoke. It's me. I need your help. Can I copy your homework? Chloe ignored me, so I started tugging on her sleeve. That weird meme video you sent me yesterday. I can't find it. Can you send it to me again? She still ignored me. I sighed and slumped onto my desk in defeat. Less than 2 minutes later, my phone buzzed. I pulled it out of my desk to see a payment notification from Chloe. The message read, "Keep helping me. I have money. Don't talk to her. I don't like her." A girl this direct who also uses her money to get what she wants. Who wouldn't fall for that? I clutched my chest and immediately accepted the payment. Leo said he wanted to take me out to dinner, that his parents wanted to thank me in person. Chloe had been talking more and more at home lately. Even though it was just short sentences, it gave them hope. I just waved it off. It's no big deal. In reality, Chloe was still very different from most people. On average, if I said 100 sentences, I'd be lucky to get 2 or 3 back from her. With summer break approaching, I was swapping vacation ideas with my buddy from the class next door. I'd made a decent amount of cash recently, so I was planning to go on a trip to the USA with my friend for my birthday over the break. I felt a burning stare from my side and turned to see Chloe looking intently at my phone. Seeing her interest, I tapped on a video. "Chloe, where do you like to go for fun?" She didn't say anything and quietly looked away. I hadn't really expected an answer anyway. But then Chloe's quiet voice spoke up beside me. "Are you going somewhere for the summer?" "Yeah, I was thinking of going to the USA." I invited her casually. "Want to come?" Chloe went silent again. I swung my leg and scrolled to the next video. The girl in front of me turned around and started excitedly telling me about her trip to the USA last year. I thought I heard Chloe say something next to me, but it was too quiet for me to catch. When I turned to look at her, she already had her head down on the desk, silent. She was mad again. Lately, Chloe seemed to get angry over nothing. I didn't know what was wrong. I poked her a couple times. But when she didn't move, I just went back to what I was doing. Soon, it was the end of the school day. By the time I finished packing my bag and looked up, Chloe was already packed and standing by the classroom door. She stood just outside the doorway, the afternoon sun lighting up the side of her face. I knew she was waiting for me, so I hurried up, planning to ask her what was wrong on our way out. But the next second, Na's face appeared right in front of mine, making me jump. "What do you want now?" I asked with a frown. Na tossed a set of keys at me. "Your mom called you, but you didn't answer. She asked me to tell you that you're staying at my place for the next week. Your parents had to go out of town." I took a deep breath. Can't I just stay home and order food? When I looked up again, Chloe was gone. I rubbed my head in frustration and ran out the door, but Chloe was already gone. I think I knew why Chloe was upset. She seemed to be really possessive of me. It didn't feel like love, more like a kid not wanting anyone else to play with their favorite toy. She'd get annoyed if I talked to the girl in front of me. And if I talked to Nina, she'd get twice as mad. But I didn't think she was being unreasonable at all. I actually found it incredibly cute. Isn't possessiveness the first sign of crush? I kicked a loose stone, walking home bored out of my mind. I'd gotten so used to getting a ride in Chloe's family car that walking home like I used unexpectedly left my feet a little sore. I heard a faint rustling sound behind me, but when I turned around, there was nothing there. I rubbed the goosebumps on my arms. Am I being followed by a thief or something? I took a few more steps, and I could still hear the faint sound of footsteps behind me. I spun around suddenly and saw Chloe standing frozen. A smile touched my lips. I turned and walked towards her. Chloe stood frozen, looking like she wanted to run, but was too flustered to move. Chloe's brain had short-circuited again. "Chloe, are you following me?" Her gaze drifted past my face as she slowly fell into step beside me, not saying a word. "Where's your car?" It took my sister home. Then why didn't you go home? She fell silent again. I leaned in with a grin. Is it because you couldn't bear to leave me? Chloe didn't answer, and her steps faltered, my teasing almost making her trip. My house has plenty of rooms. I kept chattering all the way to my apartment building. Just as we arrived, Chloe, who had been silent the whole time, suddenly spoke. Stay at my house. I froze, staring at her. What did you say? Her eyes seemed to sparkle as she looked at me, not repeating the words. I instantly understood. She must have overheard Nina telling me I had to stay at her place because my parents were out of town. I found it amusing. I'm not going to stay at her house. Chloe's expression seemed to relax a little, and she nodded. Okay. I kicked at a loose pebble on the ground. Chloe, do you like me? A flicker of panic crossed Chloe's face, but her bangs quickly hid her expression. She looked down so fast, I couldn't get a clear look. I decided to just treat it as a joke, so I chuckled and waved goodbye. All right, you should head home. I'm honored to have been walked home by the princess herself. After watching Chloe disappear down the street, I turned to head inside, but I was startled to see my parents walking towards me. Weren't you guys out of town? My mom's expression was serious. Your grandmother is sick. I've already called the school and excused you. You only have a week of school left before summer break anyway. So we're going straight to her house. Her town wasn't close, which meant I wouldn't be able to go to school the next day. I quickly pulled out my phone to message Chloe, then followed my parents to my grandmother's house. Late that night, I scrolled to my phone, but there was still no reply from Chloe. I frowned, scrolling up through our chat history. She can't still be mad, can she? The cell service in the village was terrible. All the messages I sent her failed to deliver, marked with a red exclamation point. I kept trying late into the night, but only managed to get 3 messages through, and Chloe never responded. I sighed in frustration and tossed my phone aside. But on the 3rd night, in the quiet darkness, a small pebble hit my window. I froze, then instinctively walked to the window and looked down. Couldn't believe my eyes. Standing below was a lone, quiet girl. The silvery moonlight bathed her, casting a long, elegant shadow on the ground. I ran downstairs, still in my pajamas. Chloe was standing among the tall weeds, her arms covered in mosquito bites. She would occasionally lift a hand to sweat at one, looking like a delicate, out-off-place doll. I found it amusing. What are you doing here? I didn't expect an answer, but she looked me right in the eye and said very seriously, I couldn't reach you. I was taken aback, but I sent you messages. I lost my phone. She pressed her lips together, a flicker of frustration in her eyes. It was stolen on my way home after I walked you back. I had to hold back a laugh. It was probably the princess's. First time walking alone at night. And of course, she ran into a pickpocket. How did you find me here? I asked your friends. I was surprised. Someone like Chloe actually going around asking people for information. The more I thought about it, the funnier it seemed, and I couldn't stop the smile from spreading across my face. My smiling seemed to annoy Chloe. I thought you were mad at me, she said. I was stunned. Why would I be mad? Because of Nina. She didn't answer my question. It was rare to hear Chloe say so much at once, so I decided to tease her a bit, like playing with a puppy. Chloe, does it not bother you to talk now? She turned her head away as if annoyed that I had interrupted her. You asked if I couldn't bear to leave you. I didn't answer, so you got mad under the moonlight. Her expression was incredibly serious. Yes, I listened, stunned as she basically had a conversation with herself. Had this girl lost her mind? She seemed unhappy with my reaction, her pretty brow furrowing even more. What about you? Could you bear to leave me? Suddenly clicked. Chloe thought that on the night we said goodbye. I got mad and started ignoring her because she didn't answer my question. That's why she had rushed all the way out here to find me. What kind of question was that? Had I even asked her that? My eyes lit up. Chloe, are you trying to say that you like me and now you're asking if I like you back? Chloe froze, and then I watched as a blush spread from her neck all the way to the tips of her ears. Yes, she said. I never expected her to be so straightforward. It was adorable. I wanted nothing more than to pull her into a hug and mess up her hair. In fact, That's exactly what I did. After all, I've always been the bold type. Chloe, can I hug you? I asked with a grin. Chloe's voice was tinged with resignation. You already are, holding the soft, sweet-smelling Chloe in my arms. I felt amazing. I can't believe I'm dating someone this incredible. How did you get here? I asked. She turned and glanced down the road. I was startled to see their family drive her parked at the entrance to the village, covered in mosquito bites and frantically swatting at the insect around him. My mouth twitched. You should go. I'll be heading back tomorrow anyway. She nodded, gently, removing my hands from her waist. See you tomorrow. I was ecstatic. Before, Chloe would just turn and leave without a word. Now she was saying, see you tomorrow. Love is a powerful thing. I didn't expect the first person I'd see when I got back wasn't Chloe, but Nina. She was waiting at my door. Where have you been for the past few days? I couldn't be bothered to answer. My parents, however, greeted her warmly. Nah, Ethan's grandmother wasn't feeling well, so we had to go back to our hometown for a bit. Since school's almost out for the summer, we're just going to let Ethan stay home for the last few days. Could you bring his homework by for him? Nina was always the perfect polite girl in front of my parents. I couldn't stand her fake act, so I just grabbed my suitcase and went inside. As soon as I got inside, my phone rang. I flipped open my phone. It was Chloe. She said she was downstairs. Mom, I'm going to take out the trash. I excitedly grabbed the trash bag and ran downstairs. Chloe was squatting by the dumpsters outside my building, looking like a lost puppy. I swallowed hard. Damn, how could a girl this cute possibly exist? And this beautiful person was my girlfriend. Does anyone understand how lucky I am? My heart felt like it was full of pink bubbles as I ran up to her. Chloe stood up, and I immediately pulled her into a hug. The force of my hug made her stumble back a step, and a rare smile touched her eyes. Chloe still wasn't used to smiling. She tried her best to lift the corners of her mouth, managing a soft, gentle expression. I didn't care. My Chloe was so pretty. She was like a little cupcake. Even if she were picking her nose, she'd still be cute. I held her hand and chatted away, telling her everything that had happened at my grandma's. Just like always, Chloe listened quietly, nodding occasionally. She still didn't say much, but her quiet, attentive presence made my heart soar. When it was time for her to go, I reluctantly said goodbye, leaned down, and gave her a quick kiss on the cheek. I watched with satisfaction as she turned bright red again like a cooked lobster. I gave her a playful pat on the butt. I'm heading back up. Teasing my girlfriend was the best. But when I got to the stairwell, I nearly jumped out of my skin. Na's face was grim, and behind her stood my parents. Chloe was standing a short distance away. Na's voice was low, meant only for me. Ethan, your affection is so cheap. How could you move on to someone else so quickly? I stared back at her coldly. What was I supposed to do? Waste my life pining after you? My parents had always known I had a crush on Na. Na turned to my mom with a small, sweet smile. Mrs. Miller. It's that girl. She's the one who's trying to get Ethan into trouble. My eyes went wide. My mom looked over at Chloe, who, despite her pale face, was bravely walking towards us. My mom's brow furrowed slightly. In trouble? Ethan is 18 now. What is that girl underage? I smiled. She's actually 2 months older than me. My mom let out a sigh of relief and looked at Chloe with an approving smile. Well, then there's no problem, is there? Nah. Stared in disbelief. Mrs. Miller. I quietly watched her have a meltdown. I forgot to mention the main reason my mom liked her was because my mom is obsessed with looks. And next to Chloe, I didn't stand a chance. Chloe stood behind me and politely greeted my parents. Hello, Mr. and Mrs. Miller. My mom was incredibly pleased. She shot me a look that said, Nice job, son. She's gorgeous. Nah. Clenched her fists, her frustration burning away the last of her composure. Mrs. Miller. She's sick. She has a mental illness. She's withdrawn. Are you sure you want Ethan to be with someone like that? The air went completely still. The color drained from Chloe's face. My blood boiled. Without a second thought, I walked up and slapped Na across the face. I've been wanting to do that ever since the first time she called Chloe a psycho. I think you're the one with the problem. Get lost. Na looked up, her cheek red and swollen, but no one there said a word in her defense. She gritted her teeth in fury, then turned and stormed back to her apartment. Chloe, her face still pale, looked at me completely at a loss. I stood in front of her about to defend her, but she took a step forward and bowed deeply to my parents. Her voice was trembling, and she even stuttered a little. Mr. and Mrs. Miller, my condition, it's getting better. My condition isn't dangerous. I really like Ethan. I will get better, and I will be good to him. My eyes started to burn. My parents didn't say anything else. Chloe left, her face still pale. I gently patted her on the shoulder and stole another quick kiss. Don't worry, I'll handle my parents. I turned to go back inside. My mom was sitting in the living room, rubbing her temples. Ethan, it's not that we disapprove. It's just that dating someone without psychological challenges might be easier for you. She was trying her best to be diplomatic. I knew she was just looking out for me. I nodded. I like her mom. When I first met her, she could barely say a word. Look how much she talked to you guys today. I believe she's going to be okay. My mom nodded and didn't say anything more on the subject. I didn't expect Chloe to act so fast. That very night, she sent me a message. My driver and I will pick you up tomorrow. Can you come over for dinner? My parents want to meet you. Sitting in the car, I was so nervous. I was squeezing Chloe's hand, leaving red imprints on her skin. Chloe placed her other hand on my wrist. She wasn't good at comforting people, but she just said, "You're a good person. Everyone will like you." For a moment, I remembered her telling me I was shameless with that deadpan expression. For some reason, I suddenly wasn't nervous anymore. I had imagined all sorts of scenarios, like Chloe's parents looking down on me, giving me cold, dismissive looks, or her mom pulling me aside when Chloe wasn't looking, slapping a check in my hand, and telling me to stay away from her daughter. But when the car pulled through the gates of their estate, I was completely stunned. Chloe's parents were standing in two lines with their household staff, all dressed in bright red, like they were at a wedding. Leo stood in the middle holding a giant banner that read, "Welcome to our humble home, Mr. Ethan Miller, savior of the Thompson family." Humble home? My mouth twitched. This massive mansion with its luxurious decor was a humble home. Chloe's mom grabbed my arm, so emotional, she was in tears, practically ready to kneel down in front of me. "Ethan, you have to promise you'll stay with our Chloe. You have no idea how many therapists we've hired, how many companions we've tried to introduce her to. Boys, girls, it didn't matter. None of them could last more than a week with Chloe. Only you," she paused. A boy so persistent, resilient, and interesting could finally open up her heart. My mouth twitched. "Ma'am, what you really meant to say was that only someone as shameless as me could get through to her, right?" But I wasn't offended. After all, I had basically broken in and robbed my way into this relationship. That night, as I was lying in bed scrolling through my phone, I suddenly got a gift from Chloe. It was a Peking gift. I blinked. She was stealing my gift again. "What's up?" I typed. Before I could even hit send, a video call from Chloe came through. The moment I answered, I was hit by a wave of pure beauty. Chloe looked like she had just gotten out of the shower. Water was still dripping from her wet hair, tracing a path down her sharp jawline to her collarbone. And wow, I stared wide-eyed. I couldn't believe this was my quiet little puppy. "Chloe, why are you dressed like that?" Her fair skin flushed a light pink. She looked incredibly shy as she grabbed a towel from nearby and wrapped it around her shoulders. "You wanted to see?" I was speechless. Why did this girl have to be so brutally honest? Seeing my stunned expression, Chloe looked a little lost. She had looked it up on her phone the night before. How to make a guy like you more, he's a little thirsty, very thirsty. The AI told her that if you want to keep a man, you have to give him what he likes. But aside from being shocked, I hadn't really reacted. I still hadn't said a word. She looked like she thought she'd done something wrong. I looked at her disappointed eyes and cleared my throat. "No, it's fine. You did great." As soon as I opened my mouth, a little drool escaped. The air was silent for a moment. My face instantly turned beet red. "No, It was just because I was lying down in a weird position. I'm not that thirsty. I swear this is so embarrassing. Chloe's eyes sparkled as she sat obediently in front of her phone, but I had a feeling she was laughing at me. Ethan, the USA, will you go with me? She looked at me, biting her lip, her expression cautious. I suddenly remembered what she had said the other day. I had asked her if she wanted to come, and she had said yes. Before I could answer, she turned and walked out of frame. I was confused. Were we leaving right now? Her decisiveness was a bit much. Less than a minute later, Chloe was back on screen, breathing heavily, her chest rising and falling. She was holding something. I can pay for it. Besides a beautiful woman, the most attractive thing in the world is probably the black card she's holding. A beautiful woman with a black card. I'd like to see anyone try to refuse that. Cleared my throat. Damn, this woman was dangerously charming. The news that I was going on a trip with my girlfriend somehow got back to Mrs. Davis. The night before we were supposed to leave, I was bent over packing my suitcase. When I turned around and saw Na standing there, she looked thinner with dark circles under her eyes like she hadn't been sleeping well. My mom wants you to come over for dinner, as if she was afraid I'd refuse, she quickly added. Your mom is there, too. Mrs. Davis had always been really good to me. Whenever my parents were out of town, I'd eat at their place. She had tried to set Na and me up more times than I could count. But Nina always complained that I was too loud. We were all adults, so the dinner wasn't too awkward. But after we ate, Mrs. Davis brought out a huge photo album. The smile froze on my face. I felt like I was sitting on pins and needles. Look, here they are at a dance class when they were little. And this one, a dog bit Na on the butt, and brave little Ethan here was pulling its tail while crying his eyes out. Na's expression soured even more. My mom just sat there with a polite smile. No one else said anything, making Mrs. Davis feel a little awkward. In the blink of an eye, the kids are all grown up. Ethan used to follow Arena around everywhere. I always thought of him as my future son-in-law. I don't know what happened between them. Nina hasn't smiled in days. Ethan, you should talk to her more when you have time. I took a deep breath and slowly stood up. Mrs. Davis, if there's nothing else, I should get going. Now watch me leave without saying a word. I had just stepped out the door when the person standing there scared me so much I nearly jumped out of my skin. The motion sensor light hadn't turned on yet. A girl was squatting in front of my door, looking like a pitiful abandoned puppy. What are you doing here so late? I glanced nervously behind me. Thankfully, Nina hadn't followed me out. Otherwise, Chloe's face would have crumpled into a frown. Your phone? You didn't answer. I scratched my head in embarrassment. I had been so focused on dinner that I'd left it at home. The corners of Chloe's eyes were a little red as she stared at me. But for you to come all the way over here in the middle of the night, the moment the light flickered off, a soft body suddenly pressed against mine. I was scared. I blinked, confused. I didn't quite understand what she meant, but Chloe was holding on to me so tightly I couldn't move. All I could do was wrap my arms around her and stroke her hair like I was petting a small dog. In the dim stairwell, I thought I heard a door open and then quickly close behind me. I gently pushed Chloe back and looked at her hair. 2 little tufts were sticking straight up. Wow, a Teletubby girlfriend. What were you scared of? That I wouldn't go with you tomorrow, or that I'd run off with someone else after one dinner? Chloe's eyes were dark, and she kept her lips pressed together. I playfully used my fingers to move her mouth up and down. Come on, talk. You liked her for a long time. You've only liked me for a short time. I cooped Chloe's face in my hands and squished her cheeks like dough. Miss Chloe Thompson, please do not feel insecure when you have a face this breathtakingly beautiful. Okay, it's not fair. It makes me want to do things to you. Chloe blinked, her cheeks squished together by my hands, making her look like a chipmunk. Do things cleared my throat. Better not corrupt the innocent child just yet. I teach her with practical lessons later. I didn't explain, and Chloe didn't press the issue. She just nodded obediently and came inside to help me pack. She could ask her AI assistant later. It knew everything. My mom walked in to find me sitting with my legs crossed directing Chloe. That one's ugly. Pick another one. That color is too loud. Chloe tirelessly went back and forth to my room, pulling out clothes and refolding them like a little robot. "Stop bullying her," my mom said. My mom looked exasperated. Chloe just bowed to my mom. "Hello, Mrs. Miller." My mom looked like she wanted to say something, but then stopped. Oh, well, it seemed like Chloe was enjoying being bullied. Anyway, after Chloe and I got back from the USA, she became even clingier. She always wanted to either meet up or be on a video call. Most of the time, she wouldn't even say anything. She just wanted to see me. Anyone else would have gone insane. But I was a guy who could talk endlessly about nothing. In my mom's words, Chloe and I were a perfect match, a lid for every pot. Not long after that, Na's family moved away. I was on the phone with Chloe as I stepped out of my apartment. My dad had asked me to take out the trash, so I was holding the trash bag in my left hand and my phone in my right. But as I opened the main door to the building, I saw Na, who was in the middle of moving boxes. I paused for a second. She looked like she had lost a lot of weight. Her eyes rested on my face for a few seconds, and I saw a sadness in them that I couldn't quite place. I continued on my way to the dumpsters. Suddenly, I heard Nina's voice from behind me. "Ethan." I turned around. Na was standing at the top of the stairs, looking down at me just as she always had. But something felt different. She lowered her head slightly, and her voice trembled. "I'm sorry if I had been honest with my feelings sooner. If I hadn't said all those hurtful things to you, would you have kept liking me?" I just smiled, shook my head, and turned to walk away. On the phone, Chloe's voice became a little deeper. "You promised me you wouldn't talk to her." I clicked my tongue. "I didn't say anything, did I?" She took a deep breath. "But you definitely shook your head." She was even policing that. I widened my eyes. Princess, Chloe was getting a little bossy lately. I suddenly remembered that not long after we became desk mates, she had sent me that payment, the one that told me not to talk to Nina. Even back then, when she barely talked to me, she was already staking her claim. "Chloe, when did you start liking me?" I didn't think she would answer, but after a two-con silence on the other end, her voice came through soft and tinged with a smile. "From the first moment I looked up and saw you, the sunlight was hitting my desk, and I suddenly wanted to speak to.